Conservative new media viewers, Jeremy Lin fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFA Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and we're here with a special update that just came out of the blue. Didn't expect these remarks to be made, but to make a long story short, Amare Stoudemire, who was a teammate of Jeremy Lin's while both of them played for the New York Knicks, made some comments apparently today, or they were published today in the New York Post. Now, we will put information so you can go and check out this article for yourself in the video description below the video player. We'll put the information down in there, and again, you can go and read the whole article by yourself. However, I will say this: the most of the article is not about Jeremy Lin. It's about Amare talking about the Knicks and Carmelo Anthony. But there is a portion of it that does deal with Jeremy Lin and Linsanity and the time in which those two played together when Jeremy Lin had Linsanity and basically became a global phenomenon. Okay? Now, I'm going to read you the quotes from Amare Stoudemire, and then we'll discuss them after that. Okay? Here's what Amare had to say about Jeremy Lin. If he stayed, it would have been cool, but everyone wasn't a fan of him being a new star, so he didn't stay long. Jeremy was a great guy, great with teammates, worked hard. He put the work in. We were proud of him having his moment. A lot of times you've got to enjoy somebody else's success. That wasn't the case for us during that stretch. You got to enjoy that and let the player enjoy himself and cherish those moments. He was becoming a star, and I didn't think everyone was pleased with that. Unquote. So, let's go through this piece by piece and break it down, okay? First of all, you can see that Amare himself was and is supportive of Jeremy Lin here, okay? That's number one. Number two, Jeremy is a great guy with teammates, and he worked hard. Jeremy gets along with essentially everybody. So if you don't get along with Jeremy Lin, the problem is likely with you rather than him. Now, again, I'm not trying to put it as Saint Jeremy Lin here, but Jeremy's a nice guy. I mean, he's not trying to be hard. He's not trying to come off with an attitude or any of that stuff. He's a nice, open, friendly person. We've seen that, whether it's his testimonies during the summers or just his approach to life and his relationship, his faith, etc. Okay? And let's go, and you know Jeremy works hard. That's always been something mentioned about him in pretty much everybody he's ever played for, as far as I can recall. He's always been known and said to be a very hard worker. And you can see it. He works hard during the summer when they put up the videos. They show how hard he's working. And Jeremy's a guy who, for him to achieve what he has achieved, he had to work hard to do it. Of course, he is physically talented, but he's not the most physically talented person in the NBA. So when you have less talent, you've got to work harder to keep up with people who might have more talent. There are guys in the NBA, or there certainly have been people in the NBA, and you hear stories about this all the time. They don't even really like basketball. They're just so physically talented that they go into it and they play it because it's an easy way to make money and get fame. Jeremy's not one of those people. So he does have to work hard, and he has worked hard, and he is working hard. Okay? Now, a lot of times you got to enjoy somebody else's success. How true is that? We all know this. We've all experienced this in our own lives. Maybe you have a friend or you have a family member and something happens great for them. And they're successful in a venture, or they make a lot of money, or they're, I don't know, all the boys or all the girls like them, or whatever it is. And there are some people who react to that in a positive way, and there are some people who can react to that in a negative way, or in a petty way, a jealous way, whatever it is. And that's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate, but it does happen, okay? And Amare says that there were people, or at least a person, who didn't react well to Jeremy's success during Linsanity, okay? Now, who is he talking about? I think most of us have a pretty good idea of who he's talking about. We saw it when it happened. We made the videos. We all commented about it, all the Jeremy Lin fans all over the world. And the article itself names Carmelo Anthony. And some other Jeremy Lin fans have also pointed out the name J.R. Smith. I think if I had to take a guess at who Amare is talking about, the first number one would be Carmelo Anthony above everybody else. And J.R. Smith might have been kind of a tag along, or however you might have just gone along with what Carmelo may have felt at that time. You remember whenever Jeremy signed his contract with the Houston Rockets, I think it was Carmelo and or J.R. Smith that called the contract ridiculous at that point in time. So, which is really sad, because you have a guy who signs a contract, and it's almost certain that the Knicks weren't going to match it, even though they mentioned that they would match any contract. And you're still apparently jealous. It's like, well, aren't you happy because you're not going to have to play with him anymore, and he's not going to take any of your spotlight anymore? But ridiculous. I mean, it's just, look, I don't know Carmelo Anthony. I don't have anything issue with Carmelo Anthony because I don't know him. But it's just like the difficult thing with this is it's a recurring thing for Jeremy. And it seems to happen to him over and over again. And it's really unfair. Okay, I'll talk about that more in a second. But we all know the timeline, or the kind of the sequence of what happened around Jeremy in New York. Of course, Jeremy near the end of the season hurt his knee, and so that was the end of the season for him. But before that happened, Carmelo came back, and some of the other guys that were hurt came back, and Jeremy's numbers went down, and I think Jeremy's touches went down, and so on and so forth. At some point, Mike D'Antoni resigned from the Knicks, and I think that, of course, Mike D'Antoni was the person who gave Jeremy the chance, and whose offense kind of helped put Jeremy Lin into Linsanity. So if you're a person who was not happy with Jeremy Lin doing well and becoming a star, then if you can't go after Jeremy Lin, maybe you go after Mike D'Antoni. And I think there were different things. I don't know exactly. Mike D'Antoni was not fired. He did resign. But my understanding of the situation at the time was, I think he felt there was a lot of nonsense going on, and he just didn't want to deal with it. And you feel bad for Mike D'Antoni, too, because he went through something similar in Los Angeles after he left New York. And then he went to Los Angeles, and then there was kind of a little players' revolt, or whatever you want to call it, that included Kobe Bryant, that included Pau Gasol, and so forth. Which is, look, I'm not saying Mike's the greatest coach who ever lived, but obviously he's an offensive innovator and incredibly well respected with regards to offensive basketball. And it's just a shame that he had to go through this, and particularly if he had to go through it because he was kind of a symbol or a stand-in for Jeremy Lin himself, right? I mentioned the ridiculous contract. Of course, Knicks owner James Dolan, who has said, I think, after Jeremy Lin left. First, remember, before Jeremy Lin signed the contract with the Houston Rockets, I believe the Knicks said that they would match any offer for Jeremy Lin. And then the contract came through, and the Knicks did not match it. And then I think that they felt like Jeremy went behind their back or something ridiculous like this. Of course, the Knicks themselves never made Jeremy an offer. So it was. I think they expected to match a contract, and then they got mad when Jeremy actually got a contract. And I believe that it has been said when Jeremy was a free agent before in the summer of 2015 that the Knicks weren't interested in bringing him back. Now, is that James Dolan? Is that Carmelo Anthony? Is that Carmelo Anthony and James Dolan? I don't know. But this kind of James Dolan is regarded as an ally of Carmelo Anthony's. It's kind of like he looks out for Carmelo Anthony. And that's been the thing. So I don't know what it is. But obviously, Carmelo Anthony is still playing in New York. And if he wasn't really thrilled with sharing the spotlight with Jeremy Lin before, maybe that's still the case, unfortunately. So, and I want to say finally on this part of the subject that Carmelo Anthony and Kobe Bryant are friends. So that could have influenced how things went for Mike D'Antoni in Los Angeles, and it may have also influenced how things went for Jeremy Lin in Los Angeles. And if you know what I'm saying here, I do feel personally, this is my own personal opinion. We know that there has been information that has come out because we've documented it here. We made a video about how supposedly Kobe couldn't stand Jeremy Lin. That came out, and I can't remember what the source was. It might have been a player agent or something like this. It has. I think that things were pretty miserable for Jeremy in Los Angeles last year, and I think Kobe had a lot to do with that. And so this does seem like something that Jeremy has had to deal with pretty much in all his stops in the NBA, except in Golden State. I think there's some stuff out there. I don't know with Monte Ellis and Jeremy. I don't know. Because I wasn't paying attention to Jeremy at that time. I know there's been some stories or information or feelings that wasn't, I don't know, maybe the greatest relationship either. But here's the thing. And most of the people listening to this and watching this video know this already. Jeremy is the quote-unquote outsider. He's the new variable. He's the Harvard guy. He's the Asian guy. He's the guy that isn't like everybody else, right? And it's unfortunate, but sometimes when a new element comes into a situation, you get resistance and reactionary responses to it. We've talked before about Jeremy and kind of parallels or similarities or however you want to call it with figures like Jackie Robinson and this type of thing. Is Jeremy Jackie Robinson? No, because Asian Americans and Asians weren't banned from participating in the NBA. He's similar in the sense that he's one or the first one or a rare one in the NBA right now. And so there are people who, if they're in the inclusive group, if they're in the group that is used to being kind of the represented group or one of the represented groups, they don't always take kindly to the new guy or the new segment coming in. You can see this in various aspects of life, whether it's, hey, we're working here and somebody just came in, or they're a new immigrant or whatever, and they're taking our jobs, or that's what we feel is happening. So you just kind of have that pushing away of the other. And this is why we talk about Jeremy Lin being like a pioneer or a trailblazer. He is taking the slings and arrows and the hardships, and hopefully it will be easier for other players down the line, other players who are of Asian or Asian American descent, and there won't be so much of this. Look, Jeremy Lin he's a very good player. Is he great? Well, it depends on who you ask. Is he talented? Yes, he's very talented. He works very, very hard. He has some really unique gifts in terms of his speed, in terms of his ability to run the pick and roll, in terms of his ability to score, in terms of his ability to get to the rim off the dribble. So there's some things that he's just exceptional at. And look, even last year, and I've talked about this before, or at the beginning of this year or last year, I can't remember which now. I mean, there's still people writing articles about how Jeremy Lin doesn't belong in the NBA and how he's taking the spot of somebody more talented. It's just frustrating. If you like Jeremy Lin, you know it, you've heard it, you have to deal with it. And it seems like he's always fighting uphill to try to get justice for his talent. And is it ever going to happen? Well, this is why I talk about Charlotte and why I tell people, look, this is a much better situation for him than the last 3 years have been. And look, New York wasn't going to be good, even if he stayed there. Because why? Because Mike D'Antoni was gone. So I think there were conflicts. Obviously, there were conflicts in New York, which is what Amare's talking about. There were conflicts, in my opinion, in Houston in terms of James Harden wanted to take over. And somebody tweeted to me an article about supposedly James Harden wanted to get Kevin McHale fired, which did happen, and get Dwight Howard traded. So, in my opinion, Houston is kind of like James Harden's little kingdom right now. And if you don't fit in the kingdom, you're not there, or you're not playing very much. As many people probably feel, I think that James Harden prefers playing with a point guard like Patrick Beverley rather than Jeremy Lin, because it lets James Harden have the ball more. Okay? In Los Angeles, Kobe is Kobe. And everything's about Kobe. And that's the way it's going to be. That's my opinion of things anyway. Now, of course, the Kobe Bryant era is coming to an end in Los Angeles. But Jeremy's had challenges, I think, in finding a spot and finding a team where he doesn't have to deal with this. Now, again, if you're the outsider, then you might always have to deal with it because you might encounter it in different situations, right? Because you're the outside group, so to speak, or one of them, or whatever. However, I think that Charlotte has been the best fit for Jeremy Lin yet, except for Mike D'Antoni, Linsanity, New York. And that was about 2 months, something like that. Now, in a perfect world, there would be a team that was coached by Mike D'Antoni that Jeremy Lin could play on and Jeremy Lin could start on, and there wouldn't be all of this jealousy or whatever you want to, whatever else might be involved with it. We don't live in that world, unfortunately. But a presence in somebody like Jeremy Lin helps to get us closer to that world. So Jeremy is an important figure, extremely important figure. That's why he's so beloved among so many people. Well, that's one reason why he's beloved, among other reasons. And that's why people are so protective of him. because they've seen these injustices or what they feel are injustices. And when you hear somebody like Amare come out and say what he said, then it's like, yep, I knew it. We knew it. And so that's why I wanted to make this video, because it's important for people to have their feelings validated. This was going on, and like a lot of people suspected that it was going on. And it's still unfortunate, but at least it can make you feel like you were right in what you thought was happening. Okay. Now, again, with Charlotte, is Jeremy Lin the franchise player there? No, he's not. That's Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson. That is the way that the coach, Clifford, and the organization seems to feel. I don't know if Al Jefferson's going to be there next year. I've said that before. Apparently, Charlotte tried to trade Al Jefferson for Dwight Howard a couple weeks ago before the trading deadline. Al's in his last year of his contract. It does appear that Kemba Walker will be there. Kemba seems like a really good guy. I think Kemba supports Jeremy. I think Kemba respects Jeremy. And it's good. I mean, like I said, I think Clifford is a good coach. Obviously, Jeremy really likes and respects Steven Silas, one of the assistant coaches who he also was with in Golden State. I think the teammates are mostly, pretty much all the guys, honestly, are unselfish. I think they do support one another, and so on. And as I mentioned in the game video from earlier today, Clifford he's not perfect if you're a Jeremy Lin fan, but I do think he's relatively fair. If you do what he wants you to do, you're going to play. And for him, that means to play defense. If you play defense and you work hard and you're getting things done defensively, you will play. And in today's game, Clifford didn't seem happy with Jeremy Lin's defense early in the game, so Jeremy played less than he usually does in the first half. However, in the second half, Jeremy played great defense, and he played the entire fourth quarter, including finishing the game in an important game, and with Courtney Lee still around there. So it's not the perfect role. It's not the perfect situation. As I said, the perfect situation is Jeremy Lin starting somewhere. And look, we might only be a couple months from that. There are teams. We thought that there was going to be Dallas that was going to work out that way for Jeremy last year or this current year. Didn't work out. And there will be other opportunities, I'm sure, this upcoming offseason when Jeremy's a free agent and he will decide. However, I'm relatively happy with Charlotte because even though it isn't perfect, it's a lot better than some of these other situations. I think Jeremy's getting good coaching. He's comfortable. Or I think he's much more comfortable anyways than he was in Houston or Los Angeles or at New York at the end of it anyway, with all this supposed envy. And he's developing as a player. It's like I said, it's a shame. It's not fair. It isn't. It's not a fair situation for Jeremy to have to deal with this. I mean, it's not. But he's making the best out of it. And he's moving on, and he's still in his physical prime, or he's just coming into his physical prime. So it's not over yet, and that's the good news. So just wanted to go over that, react to it, share it with you. I'll put this up on Twitter, the video, so people can check it out there. But Amare Stoudemire comes out and says what many Jeremy Lin fans have felt, and basically, which is, not all of the players on the New York Knicks at the time were really thrilled with Linsanity, because the implication being they weren't the stars anymore. or the spotlight wasn't on them. It was on Jeremy Lin. That's just a shame. One of the things that's always been said about Kobe over his career, and it was said by Phil Jackson, who coached him, and by others, is it's not just about winning, it's about winning his way. It's about how you win. And that's the unfortunate thing. In a pure meritocracy or a pure world, the only thing that matters is winning, not about who was the star or who shone the brightest. Fortunately, with human nature, it's not always like that. You have little political aspects, little squabbles or jealousies or envy or whatever it is. And as we said, Jeremy's gone through this a whole bunch, and I'm sure he's gone through it a whole bunch before he got to the NBA too. In fact, we know he's gone through different things and people doubting him and he really can't be that good and so forth and so on. But that is it for now. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Your comments below. Just wanted to share this story. It's been a long time coming. I mean, what is this now? This is 4 or 5 years ago now. But I'm glad that Amare said what he said because I'm sure Jeremy will appreciate it. I mean, Jeremy already knows it, obviously. But it's good for the truth to come out. Look, I have nothing against Carmelo. I have nothing against J.R. Smith. It's just, man, let a person succeed. Let a person enjoy their ability and their moment. You know, there are a lot of people who were really, really thrilled with Linsanity. And it made a whole bunch of people get engaged into the game that never followed the game, stopped following the game, and so on. And so that's a good thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It was a great thing, but I guess that's just part of human nature that people have to fight with and struggle with. I guess from time immemorial to whatever distant time in the future. So that's it. Take care. As we said before, we'll see you again in less than 48 hours because then that's when the Jeremy Lin and the Charlotte Hornets will be taking on the Phoenix Suns in Charlotte, North Carolina. But till then, hope all is good for you. See you later.